Well, here we go again. Donald Trump getting caught doing another scam by the MeidasTouch network, whereas the media just buys this propaganda hook, line, and sinker. Once again, Donald Trump's PR flack, Carolyn Levitt, posts something, and then it turns out that actually the scene that they're creating is all astroturf, is all BS. Remember, we've already exposed Donald Trump going into the Chick-fil-A, and it turns out it was a Republican consultant who gave him a hug. And we previously exposed during the Manhattan District Attorney criminal trial against Donald Trump when he went to the bodega in Harlem, it was actually the New York Young Republicans. And we previously exposed when Donald Trump went to Michigan and pretended to be in a union shop that he was actually in a non-union shop with non-union workers who he paid like $20,000 to the shop owner to be the ultimate scab move. We've already exposed how Donald Trump did another visit to Michigan and claimed he spent time with Ruby Garcia, who was murdered, her family, so he can then do this kind of xenophobic rant. And then her family member said, "What are you talking about? We didn't meet with you." And all of this in the backdrop of the Manhattan criminal trial, where we're seeing David Pecker, who worked with Donald Trump in 2016, to spread this propaganda, to put out this fake news, to catch and kill these bad stories that were out there for Donald Trump and spread the lies, defamatory lies about Donald Trump's political opponents. We're seeing that repeat itself in 2024 like it did in 2020, just new characters. So Donald Trump's PR person, Caroline Levitt, writes, and this was before the criminal trial in Manhattan. Yesterday, Trump's PR person goes, "Joe Biden is still sleeping. President Trump is meeting with union workers on the job and ripping into the fake news fire emoji. Pick your fighter, America." No, actually what was happening was President Biden was getting endorsements from the International Painters Union, from the North American Building and Trades Union, and people who actually recognize that President Biden delivered for unions. Donald Trump is a destroyer of unions. His whole career, he's destroyed the lives of workers and contractors. When Donald Trump was in office, he did everything in his power to screw over unions, to screw over the pensions of workers, and to help his billionaire friends. But sure, Donald Trump is going out there to meet with union workers. I mean, it's totally bogus, but it's not going to stop the media from just running with exactly what Donald Trump's PR people wrote. They're not going to scrutinize who's in the crowd, and maybe these people like work with Steve Bannon, and maybe they're other young Republicans, maybe they are quote unquote MAGA rappers. Like, why would the media actually do their homework? Isn't it so much easier just to repeat the propaganda from Donald Trump? Well, we do our homework and our research here on the MeidasTouch network. So after Trump's PR team posted that, of course, you get the headlines from ABC7 New York. Former President Donald Trump makes surprise campaign visit to Midtown construction site. Newsweek, Donald Trump gets something to celebrate before going to court. The Daily Caller, the modern-day National Enquirer, writes, USA chants erupt as Trump makes campaign stop with union workers. I mean, the gaslighting here is next level. Fox, MAGA, Trump, Republicans, their whole policy quite literally is to screw unions. They're anti-union, so now they're going, oh, he's there standing side by side with the union workers. Why? So he can get elected and then screw them over again like he did before? I mean, does America have this collective amnesia to not recognize what he actually did to unions when this guy was in office? Here's the headline from Fox. Trump greets supporters, union workers at New York City construction site. It's an amazing show of affection. Just like when he went to Harlem last week at the bodega, and it was just the New York Young Republicans, but they all published. What a great visit. This is Trump in his element. Okay, well, let's actually scrutinize what was taking place here at this visit where Trump was apparently hanging out with union workers. Well, here's what Newsmax host Addison Smith, who puts in his bio, Jesus is Lord, national correspondent for Newsmax. This is what Addison Smith says. Black New Yorker to Biden. I don't see you anywhere. I hope New York turns red because we're not voting for you. I guess this black New Yorker union worker is against Biden, but perhaps if we just dig a little bit deeper, we may find out who this individual is. But first, let me share with you the video that was spreading on right-wing media that all of the legacy media bought, that this black New Yorker union worker saying this to Biden. Here, play this clip.
How was it seeing the former president?
Oh, it was absolutely incredible to see him on the streets of Manhattan, meeting up with, your working class folks here, the type that are out working hard at 6 a.m. It was my first time ever meeting him, and it was really dope. So,
what's your message to Joe Biden?
My message to Joe Biden: I haven't seen you anywhere. I hope New York turns red because we're not voting for you. How you doing?
Okay, want to know who that actually is? So we put on our MeidasTouch Network account. That's Vish Burra. That's George Santos's ex-director of operations and a MAGA operative who worked closely with Steve Bannon and Matt Gaetz. Like everything Trump does, this is just another scam. And after we reported on that, there was a community note placed on Addison Smith's post. The gentleman here is an Indian American, not a black American. His name is Viswang Vish Burra. He formerly worked for Republican George Santos and Matt Gaetz. If you just look at Vish Burra's past post, he talks about how that's a movie about conservative black Americans. I'm an Indian American, but I was also in the movie. I'm making fun of you attacking me on being black, which I am not. That's Vish Burra. That was from some time ago. He wrote that back in June or July of 2023, actually. And so we should maybe do some research who these people are. We did, by the way, on the MeidasTouch Network, we did a whole story about it. And our story right over here is MAGA Republican operatives are the ones actually embedded in the Trump union worker pretrial event. Trump continues a pattern of campaign-controlled MAGA operative embedded ops. And so we took a look at who's actually in this crowd, and we identified people in this crowd, like Paul Ingrassia. Ingrassia has been described by some in MAGA's inner circle as Trump's speechwriter. He is a member of the New York Young Republican Club, is a pro-Trump writer who also speaks at pro-Trump events. In social media posts reviewed by MeidasTouch, Ingrassia believes that white men are superior in their ability to appreciate Western civilization. Ingrassia also defended the Confederate flag, thinks descendants of slavery should pay reparations to former slave-holding families, thinks anti-Trump means anti-white. And so that is Paul Ingrassia. You have Vish Burra, who we just talked about in the crowd. You also have Sean Olivo in the crowd. New York pro-Trump activist Sean Olivo was embedded in the crowd. Olivo is a MAGA rapper who goes by the stage name DVS 7.0. And he was the one leading the chants at this event. And you can see him here. You see him with all of Trump's people. And as we previously reported on last week, this is what Trump does over and over again. We reported about the bodega event. Politico wrote, smiling his ass off, how Trump used the New York bodega visit to return to form. And then we compared the photo of the New York Young Republicans right over there with the people in the crowd. And it turns out the people in the crowd are actually the New York Young Republicans at the bodega event, a total scam. We talked about when Donald Trump went to Chick-fil-A and all of the media wrote, surprise, Donald Trump goes to a Chick-fil-A. He must be a man of the people. And look at this African-American woman who gave him a hug and said, we stand with you. That must mean that African-American women support Donald Trump. No. You know why Trump was in Georgia? You know why he was in Atlanta? He was in Buckhead meeting with his billionaire and decamillionaire friends, and then they arranged a stop at a Chick-fil-A because they think that that's how they can kind of confuse Americans with their propaganda. So they stop at a Chick-fil-A, and then they had a Republican consultant who works at the Republican Party named Michaela Montgomery positioned at the Chick-fil-A. And then they had Michaela Montgomery give Donald Trump a hug and say, you know, we all stand with you. And then they wanted the headlines, which they got, saying that African-American women support Donald Trump. Why? Because Trump went to a Chick-fil-A and Michaela Montgomery gave him a hug. And we reported on the MeidasTouch network, no, Trump's viral hug at Chick-fil-A was a MAGA operative. And she also worked events before for Charlie Kirk. Charlie Kirk believes that African Americans should not be pilots. Charlie Kirk is against MLK and against MLK Day. And you see her, Michaela Montgomery, right here at a Charlie Kirk Live Free tour event. And then we also previously talked about, and as the Michigan GOP Watch also reported on, and we as well, was that Trump went to this non-union shop in Clinton Township, Michigan, gave $20,000 to them to pretend he was addressing the United Auto Workers. Trump gave signs to non-union workers in a non-union shop and had them pretend to be a union. And he pretended to speak to union workers so he could get headlines that he's there with union workers when he was not. Again, this is all just a bunch of garbage and BS. And to me, one of the things that's really kind of ironic, fascinating, scary, call it whatever you want, in 2016, what this criminal trial, a lot of the data is that Trump used the National Enquirer to push these fake stories, to push this propaganda. It's so obvious what's going down, yet the media just continues to push it out. Are they lazy? Are they complicit? Do they want authoritarianism? Do they just love the access? Do they love that they can be part of this reality TV, wannabe fascism, WWE, cosplay, whatever you want to call it, at the expense of our democracy? Is democracy not sexy enough? Is democracy not good enough for your ratings? Do you think that authoritarianism is not going to come for you? You think when Donald Trump says you're the enemy, that you're not the first group of people he's coming for? He's saying it to you, yet you give him these ridiculous platforms. No, we have to call it out. We have to expose it. I'm sure it took us work. We had to get our researchers to do work. But that's what journalism should be about, doing work. I want to thank you, by the way, for helping build this network. We've expanded our research team, our editorial team. You know, being crowdfunded is incredible. It allows us to maintain our independence. And so if you wanted to help out with the type of reporting that we do, just go to patreon.com/MeidasTouch, patreon.com/MeidasTouch. We continue to grow our team of researchers and staff, and we've got some of the best writers and editorial team in the game. That's patreon.com/MeidasTouch. Check it out. Thanks for watching.
Enough! Send it to the big house, not the White House. Get the new exclusive tees, mugs, and stickers right now at store.MeidasTouch.com. That's store.MeidasTouch.com.